This episode is sponsored by Where to Shop and Dine. Download the app on Google Play Store or Apple App Store today. Connecting colleges and communities. Welcome back, and you're watching Scene TV. I'm Maya McNulty, your host, Schenectady Cable Entertainment News and Events. Welcome to Andy Heck. He's the owner and co-founder of Alpin Haus in Amsterdam. Welcome.
Yeah, great to be here, Maya.
Yeah, thanks for being on Scene TV. I've known you for a while now. I've been following your stories, and I wanted to invite you into the studio so you could educate us and have a conversation about Alpin Haus and what's going on over in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Great. So why don't you give us a little bit of a story of yourself and your education background, and also how Alpin Haus became for you.
Okay, sure. Well, right now I'm currently a co-owner. It's a family business. My father started the business with one of his high school buddies back in 1964. So I grew up along with my siblings working in the business, and then I went to school here in Albany at Siena College. Did a stint in public accounting for 4 years at Ernst & Young in Albany, and then came back into the family business, and I've been there ever since.
Yeah. What drives your passion to go into the RV business? There's so many businesses that you could possibly have gone into, especially being an accountant major. What led you to that business?
Well, you know, I basically, most of the businesses that we're in, my father selected for us, you know, so basically when you look at it, the way it worked out is, you know, we started as a ski shop and then trying to find different businesses that were, you know, because it was so seasonal. So, you know, my father was very entrepreneurial based and tried to see, you know, could we sell, we started out selling some campers and then swimming pools, then later on boats. So, you know, we kind of have all the seasons covered, and, you know, nowadays, you know, these seasons, especially with the camping season, has extended, and people go into Florida in the wintertime, things like that, and the buying season is extended. So all of our businesses have kind of morphed from just all under one umbrella to they've all taken on a life of their own over the years. What
was your father like working for him as a young kid?
Oh, it was, you know, I didn't know any different, you know, because I just thought that's what everybody did, you know, so that was the fun part, you know, and so it was always, you know, being in retail, there was a lot of action, so every day, you know, and I just remember going to help out, whether it was taking out garbage, you know, as a little kid, or helping out with promotions, you know, serving hot dogs or popcorn, and then just, you know, my brother and I, you know, because we're close in age, we were always kind of helping out different things, you know, doing whatever it was at the stores until we, you know, until we were able to actually move up into more meaningful roles and be more productive, you know, so to speak.
So you swept the floor and emptied the garbage before you became the president of Alpin Haus?
Well, yeah, we did it all. You know, we did things that we didn't even like doing, whether it was, you know, summer stints on pool crew to, you know, prepping RVs to working in parts to helping in the ski shop, you know, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, what do you enjoy most about working in the ski shop?
Well, you know, ski shop, you know, skiing is one of my passions. I love that time of year, you know, when it's winter and everybody's anticipating their first snowfall and just talking about skiing. I love when families come in, they're talking about their kid, you know, especially for young families with their kids. And you see the little kids, they're so excited to be going out with their parents skiing. And I think that's one of the great things about, you know, our business is that it transcends generations. So we have times in the wintertime when the parents are in with their kids, but also the grandparents might be in with the grandkids, you know, getting them going skiing. And so the stories of, you know, being out there on the mountain and family time, it's just, it's awesome. And
yeah, it gives them a chance to unplug and get off the internet and off the grid for a little while to do something recreational.
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
So
everything we do, people get outside.
Yeah, very good. Speak on your staff and your facility and how they contribute to your business, Alpin Haus, because I know that you value your staff and you do a lot of extra training and stuff. And can you pass that on to other businesses as a lesson?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's always, when you're in a family business, you know, one of the challenges you grow, you know, from smaller and you keep growing is to continue to try to keep that family feel. So I think, you know, now we have 5 locations, you know, 4 in the Capital District, 1 downstate, and as we've grown, you know, part of my challenge is how do we keep that feel? So we do a lot with our employees. We do a lot of training. We do a lot of education. You know, just in this past month, we were just recapping, you know, just how much we did in the month of March to prepare for this season coming up, because there's just, you got to stay ahead of the curveball, and, you know, the business world's changing, you know, customers are expecting more, and, you know, employees that come in, you want them to feel really comfortable in their roles, so it's very important to us to do that.
Yeah, and how did that influence come over you? Has it something was self-taught? Was it something that your parents instilled in you, or is it because you've seeked out other coaches to help you to understand that level?
I think myself, I always liked to learn, even though I think when you're kind of like in high school or college, maybe you don't realize that you're a learner. But I think my father always pushed us, we got to keep improving, we got to get better, and he always challenged the status quo, and I think from that standpoint, and then as I, got into different peer groups and met different business people, and, as the older I get, it seems like every time I think I'm doing good, I'm meeting more inspiring people who are sharing their stories, and it just, like they say, who you hang out with elevates your game. So I think that's, that's part of it. It's, just when I think, geez, we've accomplished this, I meet somebody else, and it's like the window's open to all new possibilities. And I think it's exciting to learn. It's exciting to take on new endeavors. So it's part of my passions.
Yeah, and do you enjoy reading? Because you said you're a forever learner.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the things I have. I'm a big goal setter, so I have goals. And one of the things that I heard, like different friends of mine, I was reading quite a few books, then I ran across a couple people who were reading even more than me. I'm like, oh geez. So I got up to the point where I was reading 20.
I got up my game.
Yeah, so I got to the point where I said, I'm going to try to read 2 books a month. Read at least 20 books a year. Then it's like, all right, now last year I read over 30 books. This year I'm thinking, now I run into business friends who are just as busy as me, if not busier, and they're saying, no, I read a book a week. And that creates a lot of discipline. But it's like when you read these books, you get different ideas for business, you're learning, and it's like having a conversation with different mentors, and that's what I love about it. So I read a lot on business, I read a lot on strategy, a lot of autobiographies. I'm always interested, what are other entrepreneurs doing in different fields. And then, just for pleasure, whether it's when I take on new, even outside of work, different things, like I want to just immerse myself in it.
What book advice would you give? What would you recommend?
What specific book?
Yeah, what's a book that you'd recommend?
Geez, I think it depends on what, what they're, where they're at in life or what they're trying to do. I think, I was just talking about it last week, a book that somebody recommended to me years ago was Think and Grow Rich, and it's all, Napoleon Hill, all about, how he learned from Andrew Carnegie and goal setting and that, and it's, when you read it the first time, it's kind of like, wow, that's kind of crazy, but then the more you read it and the more you come across people, it's like, wow, so many people have read that book.
Yeah.
Another book, Success Principles, but then there's so many entrepreneur-based books and biographies. I think you can learn so much from so many different people, different walks of life.
Yeah, excellent. I enjoy that book, Think and Grow Rich. I read it several times. I
know. I have it on audio, so I read it once a year because there's always something. It's like
that you don't pick up the
It's
first
like a
time.
refresher, and it's like it just it just programs your mind. I think that's the good part about it. To really focus on. It's
come down to the triangle, so it's desire, burning, taking massive action, desire, and having faith, and just using that and taking massive action is the key point. So you can have that burning desire and have faith, but if you're not taking massive action, none of it works.
It all requires action, no doubt.
Yeah. So and follow up and things like that. What's a tip that you can give a young entrepreneur?
I think a tip is you got to be patient. I think so many people are. They just, I'll go to a chamber networking event, and then somebody will say, well, geez, I went to a networking event, I didn't get anything out of it. And, things in the world you got to work hard, and then things just start falling into place. And I think being patient, you have to, obviously, like you said, you have to take massive action.
Yeah.
You want results right away, but also, you always have to have a long-term view. You got to work hard in the short term, but you also have to have a long-term view. And I think so many people that are young, they just expected things to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, they want instant gratification.
Or today, I should say. They want things to happen today, and they don't want to look for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens, months down the road. And, even like some of our young employees, they look at some of our senior members of our team. They're like, geez, there's no room for me to advance this and that. And then all of a sudden, like 2 years later, we have all these openings, and they don't realize, oh my God, I never thought I'd have all these opportunities.
You have to create it,
Yeah, exactly.
As your business is growing and elevating, the opportunities are, but you have to have skin in the game and add to that. So,
no doubt.
What is a typical day for Andy Heck?
Oh, geez, it depends. Every day is a little bit different, but it's it's intertwined. With when you have a family business, when you're in retail, it's we're 7 days a week, and so for me it's different things in the community, and family. So for me, it's a typical day might be getting up, working out with my buddies on a morning run, before work, and then having coffee, coming home, being to work by a little after 8, being in some meetings, and then the different divisions we're in. It depends on what we got going on. At our headquarters, working with different managers across all the different divisions, and then we have a lot of consultants, depending on what's going on that are in, and so there's just every day is a little bit different, but it's intertwined. Then it might be, I might have something going on, dinner time or whatever, then I might be back on my computer or laptop doing catching them emails, kind of like a lot of people, till later in the night, and then then winding down with reading a book and going to bed.
Yeah, it sounds good. What advice would you give your team if they were looking to, not necessarily to make them competition, but there's a lot of competition out there, but how do you keep them current and engaged in your business? What advice do you give them to stay engaged in your business, to help elevate your business? Since you're spending this time training and learning, do you implement those, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Oh yeah, we've become much better at that, and I think we have with monthly meetings, and we have a rhythm. We follow Rockefeller habits, and the rhythm we have is we have daily huddles at all of our stores. Then we have weekly departmental meetings, and then we have senior managers meetings once a month, and that's just to keep everything on task so that we're always moving the agenda forward, and we have our...
so you kind of have a chain of communication.
Yeah, we do. We have a chain of communication, and then so we're meeting in different business units and globally across, and we also want to make sure that, each division, so the RVs, boats, pools, skis, everybody has their own agenda, but still we all want to come back to Alpin Haus. What is the Alpin Haus vision? So we have our priorities every year.
Right.
We do strategic planning. And then my job is kind of like the parent at times, keeping everybody on task. Did you do your homework? Did you do this? And it's like, and our managers are great about it too. They love it too. But you also, life is happening. We're busy. Every day we have customers coming in. It's retail, so you're trying to take care of the customers today, but you're also trying to improve for tomorrow. So it's a constant challenge, but it's an exciting challenge. I think that's the part that our employees love, is that it's not just the typical monotonous. Every day is, we have different products every year. We have the weather to deal with, so and we're trying to improve all at the same time. So it's fun. Yeah,
this particular year the weather has been outrageous with the snow. So what has been your favorite season?
My favorite season?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I love all. I love summer and I love winter because I love to ski and I love the summer. So I kind of wish, I'm one of those people that wishes that summer was a little longer and winter was a little longer. But we definitely we got a nice blast of snow that a lot of people who were waiting for spring didn't like. But our ski and snowmobile customers certainly appreciated that last dumping we got.
Yeah. Speak on what inspires you and motivates you every day.
I think I just love being around people. I love seeing people. I love, I talk about goal setting but I love seeing, and I think, in retail it's nice because we have scoreboards, so to speak, every day. It's almost like a sport amongst itself. So we can see people succeed, and I think that's kind of it's like a game. Every day, how are we gonna do, and how is it going, and it's fun that way, and that's the inspiring part.
Yeah, great. Do you have any events coming up over at Alpin Haus or any of your locations?
Actually, this weekend we have a huge event. We're part of the whole boat association locally, and we have a big boat show up in Queensbury at the Dome all weekend long, the Great Upstate Boat Show. So our team, it's a big undertaking. We'll be up there for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we follow that up with the next week at all 3 RV stores. We have open house, spring open house and sale, where we invite all our customers in. We have food and everything open, and I think this year, especially with the weather we've had the last couple of weeks, everybody's really going to be looking forward to that.
Yeah, and is it free?
Oh yeah.
So it's at every location?
Every location, for the RV open house.
Okay, excellent. What are the hours for that?
Friday 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 5, and Sunday 11 to 5.
Okay, and they can come by any time too if they can't make it this weekend, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's just it's kind of like a spring kickoff every year, and it's awesome because so many people are looking forward to spring. Yeah.
Speak on you have all these activities going on. You're managing multiple locations, multiple staff. How old is Alpin Haus at this time?
53 years. We were started in 1964.
And it was started by your dad? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about his character.
His character, he loves the businesses we're in. He loves the people. He loves also improving. So he's always challenging us and challenging, and he's always very curious. So he's always looking, things that he picks up on when he's out shopping, or whether he's on the internet or stuff like that. So I think that's he's passionate about all the businesses that we're in and about business in general, and about relationships. How to treat people. I think that's one of his marquees. As I run across people and I'll tell my dad, "Hey, I ran into so and so," and they remember him, because of the way he treated them.
Yeah, it's really important to be appreciative and have gratitude on your way up as well, and I think that resonates with a lot of people. Tell us, when you were sweeping the floors and emptying the garbage cans as a young boy at Alpin Haus and your dad, did you see yourself taking over the family business? Or most people, like in the restaurant, for example, they can't wait to get out and they want nothing to do with it, or construction. And these days, did you see yourself, envision yourself there?
Yes and no. I mean, I think I loved it, and I loved every minute of it. But I didn't, I think when you're young, you don't understand, what you have sometimes. And I think so. I really, I had a goal. I wanted to be a partner in a big 8 accounting firm. So I followed that journey, and the skills that I learned there. And then when my father said we had an opportunity to come in to the business, I didn't even have to hesitate. I was excited about it. And I think, as I tell other family businesses, I think, when your parents love the business you're in, it transcends into kids. If they come home from every day from work and, I hate this, you shouldn't go in this, so I think my father, he loved our business. We loved being part of the business. And I think now the same thing with my kids. My kids love working part-time in our business, and they can't wait someday to come into the business.
Yeah, well, it's true. What they say is if you love what you do, you haven't worked a day in your life. And
exactly.
So it's true when you can hit it.
Yeah.
I know that you're involved, Andy, with so many organizations in the community. Why is that important to you? And speak on some of the organizations that you are involved in.
Sure, it's important to me. I always looked at, especially, if you look if you look in a smaller spectrum like Amsterdam, the community of Amsterdam or Montgomery County in that area, when I came back to live back there with my wife and family and raise a family, I just wanted to do my part to help improve the community, and I think that's important for so many people. There's many different ways people can get involved, and so to me, I just said, hey, as I was asked to get involved in different things, and and as you get a little bit older, you're able to get involved in more and more, and it's gratifying to give back and make a difference, because of somebody's got to do it. So as my kids are growing up, and still to this day, I'm involved with St. Mary's Institute School, St. Mary's Parish Church, and the hospital locally. I was on the chamber for a very long time. And just a lot of other organizations. I think it's fun and rewarding, because like you said, community. It is our community, and when you're involved in the community, and over the years I've been able to now get involved in some other things in the Capital District, and you put in, but you always get back. You meet different people, and it's a good sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. So I want to say something that I'm always impressed by your running and your triathlons that you've run, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm inspired by that. So what motivated you instead? It's like Forrest Gump, you just keep running and running and running.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, it's kind of funny. If once upon a time, I was kind of like a couch potato and working hard like a lot of people, out of balance, and I remember going to my doctor, and he told me, you really need to exercise, you need to take better care of yourself. And my wife was giving me the same lecture, and I told him, you don't understand, I've got young kids, I'm busy, I just don't have time. And he says, well, you're going to have some serious issues if you don't. And so that lecture kind of kick-started me. And then, you meet friends, and then so I would work out a little bit on the side. You just start improving little by little. And then one of my good friends said, hey, let's sign up for a team triathlon, and I said, all right, He goes, can you be you jog a little bit, you want to be the runner? I said, yeah, I'll be the runner. And then a week later he says, we have too many runners, can you be a swimmer on the team? Growing up and swimming in the Sacandaga all my life, I'm like, yeah, I can be a swimmer. Well, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and so then I trained, and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be tough, trained to swim in the triathlon, and then and it was 9/10 of a mile swim. That was my only part, a half hour. And boy, I was beat when I was done, but I was like addicted to that. And then so I'm like, hey, I got to do, let's do another one of these. And the next thing you know, it's like you start out with the small ones, and then it leads to, and so that was 2007, and I really drank the Kool-Aid, and I've been into it, and it's just become part of my regimen that I sign up for races, and I exercise every day.
So it's impressive. So tell us the major accomplishments that you've done with Ironman and the triathlons. How many have you done?
Well, I've done over 80 races between running and triathlons, 34 triathlons now, and I've done Ironman 5 times, and I'll be with many of my buddies. I think there's like 10 or 11 of us this year. We'll be up at Lake Placid doing Ironman again this summer, so it seems kind of weird now to think about. Once when I thought it was so crazy and just unattainable, to now this will be the 6th time doing it.
What advice would you give someone if they, because that's like, that's a very high reach Ironman. So what advice would you give someone to, if they needed to start to exercise and to find that work-life balance, integration, as opposed to just balance, just integrating it to your lifestyle and your work?
I think it's, you just got to make an appointment with yourself. And I think, you know, when I tell a lot of my friends or that want to get into it, they just say they don't have time. And I used to make the same excuses, but then I'll ask them how much TV they watched, and everybody seems to be, well, they'll watch TV from X time. I say, you know, get to bed earlier, get up and exercise, find a way, but everybody has time, you know, maybe not every single day, but you definitely have time to get a hour workout in every day. And, you know, not everybody's working 7 days a week, so on those days that you're off, spend some time. Now, not everybody's going to do, you know, what I do, you know, with Ironman or stuff like that, obviously, but certainly I tell them to start small, you know, so don't try to bite off too much, you know, because sometimes people think that, and then they feel like a failure. They try to take too much. I go, just start. If you can just, if you're not exercising now, if you can do something 3 days a week, and if you can eat a little bit healthier, and maybe get a little more sleep. So I educate my employees on that too, because I think, you know, when you're when you feel good physically, you're on top of yourself, both mentally, everything. You're more alert. You're more focused. I think it's very important. Yeah,
that's great advice. What in the how many years did you say Alpin Haus has been around?
53.
53 years. And in that time period, have you obviously you've had ups and downs, but was there ever a time where you're like, this isn't working anymore and we have to go back to the drawing board, to the blueprint?
Well, I think like many of us, the most recent was 2008, 2009 with the whole recession that we had and the financial collapse, and it certainly put us in a tailspin because when you look at everything we sell is discretionary income, and people were paralyzed. They didn't want to spend money on anything.
Sure.
And even if they did, the banks at the time were very tough. It was even tough to get loans to buy an RV or boat. So it was that's when we really had to go back to the drawing board and figure out, you know, how do we people in America always want a vacation, but it kind of changed a little bit. You know, gas prices were high, the stock market was crashing, you know, and we had a lot of talks on how do we reinvent ourselves, and we did, you know, and we've had gas crises before, we've had wars, we've had different things, you know, we've had everything over the history, you know, and so we've learned, and you know, you just got to be resilient, and you just got to dig in, and you got to figure out how you're going to get out of it. You know, that's the only way. Where so many people want to throw in the towel, and it's not easy, but it's there's always light at the end of the tunnel, that's for sure.
I am so thrilled to have had you on Scene TV, Andy. Thank you so much for sharing all about Alpin Haus. Congratulations, 53 years. Continue running the triathlons.
Yeah.
I'll be watching you on Facebook. And thank you so much for being on
It's always good to catch up with you.
Scene TV.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.